Great sipper.
Super mellow. All right, here we go.
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
Bazinga.
2 in the box. Ready to go. We be fast. They be slow.
Cool.
All right, welcome to the Mt.Geekmore podcast, your favorite podcast where you come to listen to people talk, debate, and argue over their top 4 Mount Rushmores, if you will, of their favorite pop culture subjects. Today's pop culture subject, as you can tell because you're watching us live on Facebook or YouTube or Twitch, or listening to us if you decided not to tune into the live, is the Mt.Geekmore of bad TV dads, right in time for the celebration of Father's Day. I am Nary Science. With me, as usual, is David.
Howdy.
And we have, I know it sounds confusing for those people watching us, where it says at his handle at punk_Phoenix, but that's actually Daniel DeBona.
What up, y'all?
Thank you guys for checking us out. It's a weird show because there's only 3 of us. Typically, there's 4 people on a panel. A couple of times we've had 5 people on a panel. And one other time we've had 3 people in a panel. So this is the unusual. But trust me when I tell you, everybody on Earth was busy. At least this Earth. There's multiple Earths. I didn't check every Earth in the multiverse, but this Earth, everybody seemed to be busy. Anyways, with that said, let's go ahead and get it started. How did you guys come up with your selections, David?
So a lot of this was just like off the dome. I thought about which movie and TV characters were fathers that I would hate to have. I did eventually rule out fathers that were either manipulated into being bad or suffer some sort of neuroses or something like that. So that, dude, come on. Because I felt it was unfair to those that are just truly evil. So there's
evil dads.
Yeah, these are just like flat out bad dudes.
All right, now you said movie and TV, but we're just doing TV, right? You don't have any movies on your list, do you?
We're just doing TV as per discussed in the group.
If this was the case, then my entire list is gone. we discussed this for real?
We did. Yeah. It was like a whole thing we talked about.
When?
It was after Daniel's nap.
It was. I took a nap and I came back and I was like, I'm good with just TV. And Neri was like, bet or sold. Or
all right.
Oh, so by discuss, you mean there were 2 texts sent?
Yeah, that was a discussion. We're dudes. I don't know what you wanted.
You looked at it. You didn't chime in.
I mean, if you want to include movies, we can, but that's killing next year's episode. But don't you have a bunch of people on your honorable mentions or dishonorable mentions?
I have 1 character from a TV show.
Okay. All right. You want to take a quick fiver and then we could do this? We could vet. You know me. I could keep fucking talking, dude.
Yeah, there's no way I'm coming up with a list in 5 minutes.
Oh,
okay. So we're doing movie and TV.
I mean, when we discussed this last week, we went movie and TV.
Yeah. All right, movie and TV. Fuck it. I mean, I can't change the title on the screen now because I already made it. So, but that's fine. Movie and TV.
Hang on a second. I'll do this.
It's all right. I mean, whichever way.
Hey, if you can pull it off, because I've only got TV. So what I did.
You want to laugh? Most of mine were movies, and I had to be forced to go. I'm like, no, that's a movie too. Like I was like, no, I can't do that one. That's a movie as well.
Yeah, I found that most TV dads were like bumbling idiots and not really like.
Yeah, because
No,
your specific trait for this is evil. Like you wanted to go with evil. I just went with bad dads, like dads who are not good. I mean,
Yes.
I think I have one evil dad, but for me, I just meant like I'm kind of
See, now that was one thing. That was one thing that I took into consideration was were they actively a bad dad or were they just like an idiot? And so I did limit myself to only one animated character. So that helps me get rid of some. And then I tried to think, okay, like these are people who were actively doing things of their own volition that make them terrible dads. Like not just that they're just really dumb or even just like slightly neglectful. Like, and I guess don't say anything if you've got them on your list, but like well, no, I won't do that. But like there were some people I thought of that were bad people, but maybe they weren't terrible dads. At least they weren't as bad as some of the ones who made my list.
I made that conversation with my wife because my wife was like, "What about so and so?" And I was like, "Look, that guy is a piece of shit as a human being.
Yeah,
but I don't really see him as a bad dad, and I think those two are not mutually exclusive."
Yeah, I did the same thing. I was like, "Yeah, that guy is real shitty as a person." But he wasn't that bad to his son, right? Like
you did buy him a car,
right? Like exactly, we're talking about the same guy. We are absolutely talking about the same guy, and that was my thing, right? It's like, well, yeah, the things he did weren't great for his family necessarily, but also he wasn't a terrible dad. So I eliminated him, some stuff like that, and like I said, I did cut myself down to only one animated character.
Well, what I did is, first of all, when we talked about the TV thing, that kind of threw me for a loop as well. I got to be honest, because I was like, oh, fuck, all right. Because a lot of bad dads are in movies. But there's one guy that's evil on my list, but the rest of them they're just bad dads. Whether maybe they're not there. Maybe
I have two that are straight up evil.
But here's my restriction that I put on myself, right? I did not put anybody who was mentally handicapped. And there are two very famous bad dads that in their universe, they are mentally handicapped.
See, and one of those two that you're talking about is on my list.
Yeah, I didn't. I felt that mentally handicapped kind of fucked up to do, like. So I was like, all right, not gonna.
But I have an argument for why he still made my list when I get there.
But here's my argument for I specifically did that because I knew that I felt that they were too obvious of choices. There's two that I was like, I can't. I'm trying to find a way.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
I'm trying to find a way not to put them on the list, and so what I did was, they're mentally handicapped. That was literally like, it's not because I'm trying to be a good guy. I was just like trying to find what these two have in common that I could be like, take them both out. But yeah, it's definitely one of them. Our own Steph Animator Senior helped me out with. Because she reminded me of like this situation, and I was like, "Oh yeah."
Hey, so straight up, while we're vamping, and Dave works on his list,
I have a list.
Excellent.
But we're still vamping. We're still vamping.
So we've got a listener.
I don't know if it's gonna get much better than this, but
we've got a listener, and they chime in every once in a while, and I believe they go by the name of Quills.
Quills, yeah, Q.
Mm-hmm.
Is that their real name? Because that's like super rad. Okay.
Here's how much it's not the real name, right? I say this with all love. That she's one of our friends, one of our close friends. So Quills, she also goes by Q. I've only known her I've so much only known her by that name that years ago she posted a picture of a hospital bracelet on Instagram, and I literally wrote, who's that? I didn't like and she replied with a LOL, and I was like, yeah, no, that's cool, but like I'm trying to figure out who this is.
Like, who's in the hospital though?
No, but seriously, who's in the hospital, and are they okay? Like that's like, I was legitimately like, I don't know who the fuck this person is. And then it took me like the second go around to be like, oh, I think this is like, because to me she's always been Q, she's always been Quills. So
okay.
Yeah.
Just wondering, like I know she chimes in every once in a while, and I was like, God, that is such a cool name. Like I just got to know if that's like her Christian name.
She's Jewish, madam. No, I don't know. I'm kidding. Pretty sure she's atheist. But yeah, no, it's
government name then.
Government. I love saying government name. What's your government name?
Oh, we're using government names now.
Yeah. I love that shit so much. Hold on, let me see. Give me a second, because I forgot to share. The moment you said that, I was like, oh, I should probably share. I should probably share this. My feed. Podcast time. Just time for Father's Day.
Steve Platt, thank you for listening in.
That's right, Steve. Thank you very much. He put Stu Pickles as a bad dad.
I guess he did spend all his time in the basement, right? Like you never saw him because he was always in the basement working on toys that were broken.
You know, somebody else somebody posted a meme of Stu Pickles and his wife, and they were like, "Did you know that Stu and whatever his wife's name was
Dee Dee.
were only 33?"
Oh yeah.
and then like I was like, "Yo, for real? Only 33?" And then the caption said something like, "I would look fucked up too if everybody just dropped off their kids at my house." And it's so funny because I never thought about it. I'm like, they do just drop off. Everybody just really does drop off their kids.
Have you ever seen like the horribly dark fan theory that Angelica's the only one of those kids that's actually real?
Oh shit.
And that like the others are like all kids who died somehow, and like that's what, and so and so she like these are all her imaginary friends. So like Tommy's some kid who like died when he was really young. That's why his dad is always really depressed and like working on toys in the basement, but he sucks at it because he's always trying to make toys for this kid, but he's really depressed because he's not alive. Like Phil and Lil are actually like a baby that their mom miscarried and she didn't know if it was going to be a boy or a girl. That's why they look exactly the same, but one's a boy and one's a girl.
Jesus.
And like Chucky died with his mom. That's why he's just like this anxiety riddled reflection of his dad.
Well,
I have heard this before.
It makes the show really dark.
Well, I don't want to watch TV.
And it also explains why Angelica can talk to the babies and nobody else can.
Yeah. Well, I don't know where to go from there. Where to go from here? This is the most dark shit ever, man.
That's what I got on Stu Pickles.
I saw I saw a fan theory. Where was it? I saw a fan theory about there was another dark shit. Oh, that the old man from Up, that he was dead or some shit, and like that. Yeah, it was some crazy. Fuck, it was some crazy shit that he died.
I don't like that.
Yeah. No, it's all death ridden. We're trying to figure out what it was because my brother. I talked to my brother about it, and he was like, "Yeah, I've heard that one before." My brother's an animator, and I was like, "Oh, okay." Let's see here. Yeah, the old kid.
My wife feeding the cat in the background. If you're watching live.
Take note.
All right, I have a list and honorable mentions.
Hey, there we go.
There you go, man. That's great.
Do the damn thing. Look at that. Pulling time. Crowd work, if you will.
Story of my life, man. Story of my career. Let's see here. Hold on. I'm really trying to find the fucking theory now. The somebody died in Up theory. Yeah, the guy was dead the whole time, or that he died. Not that he died. That's what it was. That he died at the beginning of the movie. Because remember, he said you could take my house.
Oh yeah.
When over my cold dead body or whatever, and then that he died or whatever. And then the whole balloons thing is just bullshit. It's all made up. What the fuck?
That's whack because it ruins the ending. So not here for that.
Oh yeah, but Stu Pickles. Yeah, let's talk about that whole fucking podcast again, please. Jesus. All right, man. Sorry. Let's go through our number 4.
With the fourth pick.
Number 4.
Round 4.
I'm in no mood for your wives' crack. Let's get it on.
All right, man. Dave, what do you got for your number 4, man?
All right, my number 4 is actually from like a teen drama show, but it's I wouldn't call it a guilty pleasure of mine because I wear my heart on my sleeve and I'm I don't ever feel guilty about watching anything. But from Riverdale, Hiram Lodge, Veronica Lodge's dad. He is this like scheming, diabolical genius that I guess isn't quite so genius because he keeps having his plots foiled by the teens of Riverdale High.
By those
And-
damn kids.
Yeah.
those damn meddling kids.
And I would have gotten away with it too if it hadn't been for you meddling kids. He's this guy who, like, I mean, he practically goes to war against his daughter for like the most insignificant things. He doesn't come in until the second season because I believe he's in jail. And then once he's out, he plans on taking over the city of Riverdale. And he does this by buying a bunch of land, trying to build a prison, and like making Riverdale like a prison city, like supervillain stuff.
Yeah.
He's kind of like Lex Luthor.
Yeah, but that's such like a small scale, like Riverdale. Like that's such like a small.
It's like
I would just call him a villain, not super villain. I think he's not. He doesn't have the aspiration. It doesn't. I don't know the guy.
it's like Doofenshmirtz. He's just after the Tri-County area.
Just after the Tri-County area.
Yeah, and
Fuck,
feel like-
Doofenshmirtz is a dad too, isn't he? But he's a good father. He
He's a
cares
good
about.
dad.
I can't
He's a
put
good
him on
dad.
there.
I don't even know who you're talking about. Who you guys talking about?
From Phineas and Ferb. Heinz
Doofenshmirtz.
Doofenshmirtz.
Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated?
Yeah. I love that show, but really, I'm into that show for the fucking platypus, dude. I'm like, I'm all in for the platypus. Yeah, I like that show.
Yeah, he's got like very manageable aspirations, Hiram Lodge. And the thing is, he seems to be very well connected with various different mafias in like New York City and Chicago and stuff.
I thought you were gonna say Riverdale. It's like multiple families.
And yet he chooses to call Riverdale his hub. It's a ridiculous show. You kind of have to accept the premise that these teenagers who should be in class or arrested for truancy are like running amok around this town and saving it single-handedly while adults do nothing. But
Is Jughead gay in that show?
I dig it. Not that I know. No,
Okay,
he's they have Jughead coupled with Betty, which was
Okay.
kind of weird to see at first, but the way the characters are written, it works.
I just learned this week that the character of Jughead is played by one of the kids from Big Daddy.
Sprouse, yeah, I think it's Cole that's in this one.
You know the twins from Big Daddy. They play one character. I'm talking to Daniel. From the Disney show. What was that Disney show that
oh god, yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
yeah,
Zack and Cody.
Yeah, Zack and Cody or some shit. I forget what the name of the show is. Anyways, but yeah, I just learned this week that I'm like, wait a minute, one of those fucking kids is they're twins, and he's like, yeah, I'm like, one of those kids is the one that plays Jughead. I'm like, yeah, I've seen like 10 episodes of this show. I just never put two and two together. And I was
I watched Sabrina, but I haven't transitioned over into Riverdale yet.
Sabrina kind of has a very similar tone. It's a little darker, obviously, but it kind of takes that angsty teenage approach. It's not the bubbly, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Clarissa
Right.
Explains It All
Yeah,
edition.
I'm watching that show now with my kid. I introduced her to that Sabrina,
Old school Sabrina.
Right, old school Sabrina. She loves it, and I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, have you seen Family Matters? I'm trying to introduce Family Matters. My wife introduced her. I should correct myself. My wife introduced her to Sabrina, and I'm like, but look at Family Matters, huh? Look at, so now I'm watching Family Matters. Like she'll leave the room, and I'm like, this fucking show's amazing. Like I love this show. Go ahead, Carl. Tell him. All right. So Hiram Lodge. The Bono, what do you got, man?
My number 4 is from a show that is remarkably divisive for a TV show. It seems to be some of the people who watch it either love or hate. I am somebody who absolutely loves it. My number 4 is Anthony Cooper from Lost. If you are only slightly familiar with Lost, or maybe you watched it and the name Anthony Cooper is not familiar to you, this is the guy who was Locke's dad. This Anthony Cooper is a lifelong con man who was absent from Locke's life his entire life. When he does finally meet Locke, he's in dialysis, and him and Locke have he takes Locke hunting and creates a relationship with him. Eventually, gets Locke to donate one of his kidneys, and then when Locke wakes up out of his anesthesia, Cooper is gone already.
I do remember this. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then Cooper fakes his own death, convinces Locke to help him collect his $700,000 life insurance money, promises Locke some of the money, gets Locke to do it, takes off to Mexico without giving Locke any of the money. The next time Locke runs into him, he is in the middle of conning a woman into marrying him. Locke tries to stop him. The woman's son shows up mysteriously dead, and he then tries to kill Locke, who tries to stop his con. So he's conned his own son twice, tried to actively kill his son once, and then the show's old enough that I'm not going to worry too much about spoilers. He also turns out to be the guy who conned Sawyer's mom and made her kill herself.
I remember that, yeah.
Using the name Tom Sawyer, which is why Sawyer goes by the name Sawyer. So he is simultaneously a horribly shitty individual and a very shitty dad. Every interaction he ever had with Locke, outside of that, when you very first meet him and they're hunting together, it's awful. Because once he runs away with the kidney, he stops trying to pretend. He's not trying to con Locke anymore, except he is. Except for part of the con is to pretend that he's not conning him and just admitting that he's a terrible person. It was incredible the way that he kept coming back, and they kept weaving him into the story, and just every time you hated the guy more and more every single time. And of course, like so many things in Lost, he ends up on the island, and it's where he meets his end. But it was just incredible because he's such a minor character in the show, but every time you see him, his entire story arc is constantly based around him being a terrible dad. That's the only part of him that exists, except for when you eventually find out he also is the reason that Sawyer's mom is dead. So there's nothing redeeming about him, absolutely ever at all. And like I said, most of his story is just about him being a terrible dad. So my number 4 is Anthony Cooper from Lost.
All right. Anthony Cooper from Lost. I got to write these titles down because I don't know where they're from. So, but I do remember seeing that whole kidney thing. I remember that just so long ago.
Yeah, he was terrible.
Yeah.
Riverdale. Okay. My number 4 is going to be the most controversial. Doesn't matter because it's my list. And my number 4 is my only animated pick. Is Splinter from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh boy.
I feel as if
I'm just gonna mute myself.
Hear me out. Well, you can mute yourself because you're not talking. I'm the one talking. So I feel as if, right? I started this as a joke, but then I was like, no, that is pretty shitty. So this dude has a vendetta, right, against the guy who killed his master or whatever. He picks up, he finds these 4 turtles and then starts training them to do martial arts so that they could avenge his death. Or avenge the death of his master. Like, these guys have, first of all, they're not blood. So why are you making me? It's not a blood vendetta at this point. Like, I'm not your fucking blood. Second of all, why are you forcing me to do martial arts when all they want to do is eat pizza? Especially Michelangelo. Let's be fucking real. Mikey is a very liberal dude, and all he wants to do is eat pizza, watch cartoons. I feel like he would be the guy, like the very artsy guy, like, look at me, man, I'm making a painting and shit. And then like, no, dude, go fucking do backflips in the corner. And I feel as if that militant, it's that old school militant, like you have to be. And yeah, exactly.
That was Mikey Pinky doing the backflips for anybody who didn't get it.
I love the fact that you got that shit right away. So great. Yeah, I don't know. I wanted to put an animated dad in there, and all the animated dads I had an issue with, and but at Splinter, I feel as if I'm like, yeah, you just force them to do shit that you don't want to do. And as somebody in a position now as a dad, like, I try to put my kid into martial arts, and my daughter took to it very easily, but she's not the one I wanted. Like, I wanted my son to be in martial arts. I say that because my son's a very sweet kid, and I just want him to be able to protect himself from assholes out there in the universe. And he just didn't. He was like, no, and I just felt bad. It was like a month and a half, and I just felt bad because I felt like I was forcing him the whole time. But at least I was a month and a half, and I wasn't fucking 15 years of like.
I I wanted to be mad at this pick like so bad, but you made an excellent point. Like I get that you're saying it started as a joke, and
It did. It really did.
Right.
And then I was like, wait, like this is kind of fucked up though, right?
I'm kind of on board with this, right? Like this is a guy who he like turned these they're people or these animals, whatever, these characters, these beings into his soldiers, like for strictly like personal revenge. I wanted to be mad at this pick, but I kind of agree with you.
I'll take that as a win. It completely started off as a joke, and then I thought to myself, no, like you're forcing your kid to do what you want them to do is like parenting negative 101. That's like no, you don't do that. You don't force your kids to live in you know what I mean? It's like when you hear those stories of like, I never wanted to be in the family business, that type of shit. Like that's a bad.
I don't want your life.
Yeah, so I just felt like I was like, the more I was joking about it, the more I kept talking about it. I was like, no, that is a really bad dad. You're forcing them to be, and then you put weapons in their hands. And it's one thing if you're going to be like, look, I'm going to teach you to defend yourself because I know how to defend myself. But you don't give them weapons and then take them out to the streets and be like, go do like that. Jesus Christ, guy.
At least he gave the ones that weren't into it like the least deadly weapons, right? Like Donnie and Mikey. It's like, well, you can beat somebody up, but you're not going to murder somebody with those.
And those are the only two that I'm okay with them having weapons. I was like, you really shouldn't be giving somebody wrath.
So he actively
kill somebody.
Right. So he actively trained the two, like the most aggressive one and the one who's going to do whatever he says with the most deadly of the weapons.
Yes. Yeah. And that's why I was like,
very smart. Man, I want to be mad at this so bad, but it's actually a really good pick, and it is blowing my mind right now.
It's gonna be a meme now. Did you know Spencer is actually a bad father? Like I was like, Jesus Christ! Like he puts his kids in harm's way. He doesn't even go out himself. Like he puts his kids in harm's way, and then he's like, "Well, I thought like it's that old school mentality of like I taught them better. They should be able to fight better." Like what? No, they're going up against a fucking army and a brain in a canister. Like what's wrong with you? Why are you not like? I don't know. There's plenty of reasons. I don't know. I started this off with a joke, but I legitimately believe that now. I'm like, oh yeah, he is a bad dad. Real quick, Andrew Chacon says Armin Mueller-Stahl from the movie Shine was the first horrible dad that he thought of. The movie Shine. What? That's not The Shining, right? Shine.
No, I'm blanking on what the movie Shine is. Honestly,
from the movie Shine. All right, Andrew. Thanks for watching. I would love some further explanation, but yeah. So we got Splinter from TMNT. TMNT. All right. So our number 4s were Hiram Lodge from Riverdale, Anderson Cooper from Lost. It's Anderson Cooper, right?
Anthony Cooper.
Thank God.
Anderson Cooper's the Silver Fox from CNN.
I was like, that guy doesn't seem like he could be a bad dad. That guy seems amazing. Anthony. Okay, thank you. Anthony Cooper. All right. Anthony Cooper. All right. So right on. Pretty good list so far. I'm with it. I'm down with it, man. All right. You should move the mic a little bit further away. Just a tad bit further away.
Round 3.
3 is a magic number. Yes, it is.
All right. Hold on. We got some explanation from Mr. Chacon here. Andrew said from piano.
Piano is the movie Shine about the piano?
I feel like I'm getting cryptic messages. Like,
are you being held captive, Andrew?
Blink twice if you could just tap another random word. If you need. All right. We're waiting for David. David's parenting right now, so we can't even blame him. Dave, what do you got for your number 3?
I just want to make sure this is okay. Would you mind if I took this list seriously after that last pick?
Oh, I don't know. You got 2 against 1. So,
okay. All right.
Yeah, you Take it as serious as you want, buddy.
Okay.
I mean,
All
there's
right.
not really a fucking demolition team ready to build a mountain, so I don't know, man. Take it as serious as you want.
Well, I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
You never
No,
know.
no. Pretty sure there's no demolition team. Go ahead, man.
Your ability to commit to a joke is so intense.
Are we on
just
your number
joked
3?
about-
Are we going back
Yeah,
to my number 4?
my number 3 is Tywin Lannister.
Hey,
Tywin
that's my
Lannister.
number 3 too, actually.
Okay. Yeah, I went back and forth between him and Stannis Baratheon.
I did the exact same thing.
And ultimately, I went with Tywin because I think Stannis was a man who had been hoodwinked by a cult.
Hey,
and
can we not talk about Stannis?
Roger that.
Please.
Whereas Tywin was just like evil and rotten to specifically Tyrion for his entire life. He also created the monsters that were his other children and grandchildren. So pretty much everything that happens in Game of Thrones happens because of how shitty a father he is.
Quick question. Did we finally settle on if Jamie was likable or not? Did he
they ruined Jamie's redemption arc with that last couple of episodes. When he left to go back, they ruined everything they had done.
But does that mean that
he created a redemption arc?
Does that mean that you didn't like him anymore?
No, I think ultimately he was a character that I liked and a character I enjoyed.
Because in the first few seasons, he was I fucking hate.
Well, I mean,
once he was captive,
he's the one that creates or
the entire story.
Yeah, he cripples
Bran.
He cripples Bran. So I mean, he is totally unlikable in that first season, but after he's kidnapped in that second season, he that needle starts moving, and then slowly comes back or quickly comes back at the end.
I went with Tywin Lannister too because of the fact that every single thing he does is terrible, and that he's actively using his children as chess pieces, except for the one that he believes to be useless, and he's the worst to that one. He's terrible to the 2 kids that he likes. And the one that he doesn't like, who he actively reminds that he killed his mother during childbirth, or that she died, but he always phrases it as, that's the thing, right? Like, women die during childbirth. It happens. It is unfortunate, and it is terrible. It happened a lot more in situations like Game of Thrones. Let's call it medieval times. But he actively looked his own child in the face and told him he killed his mother just by being born. Your existence killed your mother was something that he forced upon one of his children on a regular basis, and then continued to despise him just because he was a little person, the drunken dwarf, right? And he, one of the things, it was always kind of nebulous as to whether or not he knew that his twin kids were fucking, right? But he probably did, because it's not like they hid it very well. And
I mean, if everyone else in Westeros knew
exactly,
then he had to know.
And so, but he still used them and their relationship. He actively used the fact that he knew their relationship was very deep to continue his use of them as chess pieces. He was manipulative. He was evil. He was a scumbag. And that is why I ended up having to put him on here, because just everything he did was solely for his own benefit. In the rare chance that he ever tried to justify something as being for the family benefit, it was only to benefit the family name. It was never to actually benefit the family Lannister. It was just to benefit the Lannister name, which was all about his legacy as the patriarch of the Lannister family. It wasn't ever about bettering life for the individuals that were Lannisters. It was about bringing prestige to the Lannister name, which in essence was prestige for him because he was the top of the Lannister family tree. He was just scummy in everything he did and was just terrible to his children, even when very thinly veiled as being not terrible to his children.
Yeah.
Quick question: have you guys seen Whiplash?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so here's my question, right? And I'm not believing this. I'm just asking this. So before anybody comes down my throat, I'm not believing this. I'm just asking this because what you guys described very well was somebody who was what if, right? Maybe we could phrase it that way. What if he was trying to make his kids better by putting them through hell so that they could overcome? Not
I know you're talking about like how J.K. Rowling was really
Correct.
shitty to Miles Teller,
Right.
and it made him be a better drummer.
Right. The whole story, the whole point of Whiplash is like, I'm going to put you through hell. And he gives examples of
Except okay, so just drawing that comparison, right? In Whiplash, he was very upfront about that's exactly what he was doing. He was very in your face and was like, this is why I'm like this, because when I do this, you become a better person. Tywin was never striving to make his kids better. He was striving to get them into positions of power just because it made the Lannister family name better. He didn't care about those kids. He cared about himself. That's why I keep using the phrase chess pieces. By moving them into certain positions, the name, the family Lannister, then had more behind it. And it wasn't about making them better people. It was about making himself. So he put them through hell because it made him and his family name seem better. Whereas J.K. Rowling's character from Whiplash actively was trying to make Miles Teller a better drummer and was very upfront about it.
To kind of piggyback on that point, I don't think it matters. And although I agree with Daniel, I don't think that that's what he was going for. When you look at J.K. Simmons in,
I think I said J.K. Rowling, didn't I?
Did,
yeah,
you did. Yeah. Yeah, same thing here.
They commented and said J.K. Simmons, not J.K. Rowling. I had a weird mental image of J.K. Rowling.
Who's commenting from our page?
I believe it's Robert. Not positive, but I believe it's Robert. Go ahead.
So yeah, when J.K. Simmons is trying to bring that motivation to the table and make him a better drummer, he is in effect becoming the villain of the movie. And and even if Tywin is making all of this, the point of it to be, hey, I'm making you my legacy, right? You are going to continue the Lannister name, and you are going to carry on what I have created here. I mean, at what cost? He's still creating that legacy as he, proliferates his villainy.
No, that's a great point. Like, it doesn't matter what his intention was; he's still a dick. Like,
yeah,
that's a great point. And again, I don't believe that. I'm just saying because while Daniel was describing what he was doing to his kid, I was like, oh, I want to be weird if like in somewhere in his twisted mind, he's like, I'm trying to do this for their betterment, type of shit, like like in Whiplash, and then that's all I kept thinking about. But no, I don't believe that shit.
It is possible that it's something that he said so much that he came to believe it.
Yeah, I mean,
if we're doing like a deep dive into the character,
that would be a great thing to do. Like deep dive that show before the last season. My number 3 is Frank Costanza.
I thought
honorable mention.
Long and hard about putting him on my list. Not that long, actually, because it was like 5 minutes. But fairly hard.
Costanza. Is it Constanza or Costanza?
Costanza.
Yeah, every time I read Costanza, iPhone's like, nah, you make Constanza. I'm like, no, there's no N. There's no N before this. What are you excuse me. Yeah, so I wanted to put I didn't really do this on purpose, or I wanted to be like not just dramas. I wanted to kind of do like, that's why I did the animated, and then here comes the sitcom. He's just a really shitty dad. Like, he's just, I mean, everybody in Seinfeld is like up to the fucking turned up to 11 in their personalities, whatever. But I just felt like Frank Costanza kept putting his son down at every which way and turn. Andrew says surrender now. Yeah, it's really he invented Festivus, which by the way,
Yeah.
the writer of that episode, his dad legitimately in real life created
Yes.
Festivus. I mean, I learned that after the show aired, so that fucking blew my mind that there was
Yeah,
a human being out there that
he
actually
came
did
to
that.
the campus here one time and told that story about how Festivus was a very real story of something his dad created.
Yeah. So he created Festivus, which is, I guess noble in its beginnings, I guess, and like the whole like maybe against capitalism. I kind of get that, but then the whole like who's been shitty to you all year, like that rant, like I'm like, that's really fucked up on any level, man. And for you to teach your kids like this is we're gonna go around the room and instead of talking about what we're grateful for, we're gonna talk about who's wronged us or whatever the fuck. I feel it's kind of shitty in itself. But then on everything else that Frank did, every time that George, and again, all these characters are none of these characters are good people, right? We you could establish that. You could look at this in any prism and be like, these are not good people by any means. In fact, the last episode of the series is they go to jail for not being good Samaritans. I mean, it all
Correct.
ties in. But I just feel like Frank was just a bad dad all the way around. And when you have somebody in contrast like Jerry's dad, who was a good dad, like even in a world where everybody sucks, Jerry's dad was a good dad. So I feel like, if everybody would have been a bad dad in that show, it would have been one thing, but there was a clear cut good dad and bad dad, and Frank Costanza is not a good dad. So
Yeah, no, like I said, I had him honorable mention for the exact reason, right? Like you just look at everything he does, and it's just like he never did. And the only time he ever supported, that he ever supported George off the top of my head was when he tried to help him get that job where he was trying to become a bra salesman. And but like, and even then, when it went bad, he just shit all over him for screwing it up. So
I mean, he would take that other guy's side, right? I forget the character's name, but that guy, like he let him build his, his
the guy who sold the computers with him
out of the garage. Yeah, he took his
Yeah.
side, over George's, and whatever. He's just a bad dad, man. I just felt like watching that.
Agreed. Like I said, he's on my short list.
Yeah.
Missed it by that much.
That much, my friends. All right. So our number threes are we got Tyrion Lannister twice, and we got Frank Costanza from Seinfeld. I feel like I gotta put that in for some reason. But that's all right, man. Pretty good.
Round 2.
Dose, the sequel to Uno.
All right. Number twos, Dave. What do you got for your deuce?
My number 2 is a character that I have. It's actually the character that I have spent the longest amount of time hating, and it's Sarek, Spock's father, from just about every Star Trek series.
Can you spell that for me?
Sarek.
Oh, that's a good pick that I did not think about.
Yes.
Oh, I like this pick.
The first time we meet Sarek is the first time that Spock has met him in 18 years. And Vulcans live quite a long time, but 18 years is 18 years. And that's got to tell you something about their relationship.
Dave, do you know how long it takes to go to the intergalactic fucking market to get milk? He went to milk and scratch off tickets. He went to get milk and scratch off
speed, not that
long.
Yes, Sarek never forgave Spock for joining Starfleet instead of joining the Vulcan Academy. He kind of resented the fact that Spock embraced his humanity, which is strange because when Spock is with humans, he so very clearly embraces his Vulcan side. So Spock himself is, such an interesting character. But then you have Sarek, who clearly fell in love, or not fell in love, but found at least a purpose for being with a human, and yet he resents this part of his son. And even as the relationship is
Was he married? Was this guy married to Spock's mom?
Twice. Yeah, he actually he was married 3 times. He married a Vulcan first, Then he married Spock's mother. He obviously survived her because Vulcans live terribly long. And then he married a second human woman.
Wow. Oh, he's like one of those. He's like one of those old school racists that hate black people, but like love hooking up with black people. Like you remember,
like Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah,
there you go. Yeah, he's and you know what? Let's end it there. Sarek is the Thomas Jefferson of Star Trek.
That's the clip right there. That's the fucking clip right there.
And even more so to the point, Thomas Jefferson, for as shitty a human being as he was, quite an amazing diplomat, right? Sarek, same thing. He's the Vulcan ambassador to Earth. You know, it's that is the greatest thing I've ever heard in relation to Star Trek, and we're gonna leave it there.
I was thinking about the old man from the movie Monsters Ball. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
I was thinking about that guy, but yeah, Thomas Jefferson. I think that's a better. All right, Daniel, what do you got, man?
All right, so my number 2 is one of the ones that we vaguely.
Wait.
Excuse me.
Little hot. Your mic is a
Little hot.
Right.
Sorry. I hit my mic when I was pouring some water. So my number 2 is one of the people that we vaguely discussed at the beginning. One of the ones who is not making Neary's list because technically in his universe he is mentally handicapped. But my number 2 is Peter Griffin.
That is correct. He is mentally. We're going to use the word handicap, but that's not the word that they used.
That is not the word that they used in the show. But I don't use that word.
Multiple episodes.
Yes.
Multiple episodes. So it couldn't even be like, oh, that was only that one episode. Like, no, they brought it back, so it made it canon.
However, that is a word that I do not use. So here's the thing, right? So even outside of the idea that Peter Griffin is mentally handicapped, being mentally handicapped is an excuse for being a shitty person. And it's not just that he's a bumbling dad. It's also that he's actively malicious to Meg. He's just terrible to Meg. And I know everybody in the show is terrible to Meg, but he's just actively awful to Meg. He watches horrible things happen to her. He puts her in situations where awful, terrible
physically assaults her.
He physically assaults her.
When they broke in, when the people broke in and he had the baseball bat and Meg comes into the shot. And then she's like, what's going on? And Peter looks at her, and there's a solid 3 seconds of him looking at her, and then hits her with the bag. Goes, oh, I'm sorry, Meg. I didn't know that was you.
Yes. Like, it's not just about him being a bumbling idiot. It's about the fact that he doesn't care enough about his kids to do anything to keep them out of harm's way.
Not only that, he killed one of his kids. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Yes.
There was a cutaway where it said baby.
He wouldn't stop crying.
He wouldn't stop crying. So
I thought the shaking would stop the crying.
Yes. And so
what else did he say? And Lewis is crying, and then he goes, technically I was right.
So this is a guy who everything he does is terrible for his family. Everything he does to his kids, for the most part, is awful for his kids as people. And it's just, like I said, just outside of him just being a bumbling idiot, he pursues and actively tries to be a bad dad, especially to Meg.
He is legitimately better to Brian than he is to the rest of his family.
Yes, to anyone else in his family.
He is actively better to them. And you're right, you have a great point.
And so, like I said, yes, because the other one, like I said, I won't say in case he's on Dave's list, but the other one we're talking about, everything he does is kind of neglectful because he's an idiot. He's never actively, except for maybe the choking, but Peter is just terrible.
Are we talking about Homer Simpson?
Yeah, we're talking about Homer Simpson.
Okay, no, Homer didn't make my list.
Okay,
to be honest, yes, Homer is neglectful, but there are plenty of examples of Homer actually being a good dad.
Exactly.
And when he is, it's like ridiculously touching moments that are so well written and like really well done. Like Homer was never on my radar.
And so, okay, good. So, but that's the other one.
Crayon stuck up his nose, so I can't.
That's a great example of how Homer is a good dad. Like you see how he is with Lisa once the crayon is removed. Like, man, that's a tearjerker episode.
Yeah. And so, but but like I said, Peter Griffin, outside of his mental illness, is just he's terrible. And like I said, there are only so many things you can chalk up to, like, well, his IQ is only 40, or whatever. Like and like you said, like the baseball bat thing, or just like all the times that just like I said, and Meg is the prime example. Yeah, he's bad to Chris sometimes, and he's always awful to Lois. But Meg is the prime example of just the fact that he's an absolutely awful dad. So my number 2 is Peter Griffin.
One of my favorite times is when Brian and Stewie are time traveling. They're going to different universes, different worlds, and they go to one world and they see Meg, and Meg is a smoke show. She's like walking down the street, and fucking Brian is like, "What? That's Meg?" And Stewie goes, "If you saw Lois in this universe, your penis would fall off." Because even in that universe where she's hot, she's still the ugly one in that universe. That was hilarious. God, I love that show, man. You know what's really good? Because Dave has a great laugh. What's really good is watching that show with Dave. Because Dave's laugh, yeah, the show itself is funny, but Dave's laugh will get you to keep fucking going, man. Because I remember watching that episode where Peter unknowingly or unwittingly killed that old lady. Like, he snapped her neck. And then he's like, shh,
on the bench?
Yeah, on the bench. And Dave's laugh. And I remember watching that out of context, going like, "What? Did I miss something?" And he's like, "No, he just fucking killed that." Like, I'm like, "Who's the old lady?" And he's like, "That's just an old lady that popped up on the bench." And I'm like, "Oh my god, that's so fucking weird." It's so funny, man.
Yeah.
Good.
I laugh at the dumbest shit.
But I think it's fucking great, man. That's like one of my best friends growing up. His favorite show has always been Family Matters. Like, it's never not been Family Matters. And when you're like 20, you're like, really? Family Matters? Out of all the, like, it wasn't even on DVD, so I couldn't even. He said, "Bro, when you watch that shit on Nick at Night," and then I would watch it with him, and I'm like, yeah, this is funny, like chuckle worthy, but his cracking up made me love the show more, man. I don't know. It's people like that, I guess. Let me see. We were gonna wait for Daniel. It's a weird exit. Weird.
It is. There was no explanation.
Yeah, there was no like, "Hey, I'll be right back," or like, "Oh, I gotta let my dog in," or "Fuck that guy." Hey, shh, he's back. Hey, what's up, man?
I had to take a cobbler out of the oven. It started beeping while I was
nice
in the middle of my number.
What sort of cobbler?
Peach.
Absolutely.
Again, I've never tasted a peach. I know we've talked about that before, but I still have never tasted a peach.
For hours.
I've never tasted a peach. No, I've never. Not peach cobbler. I've never tasted a peach.
Oh no, I remember back because I think peach cobbler made my baked goods list, and I think that we had this conversation.
I've never had a peach, and then a pear. I've never had a pear. Either one of those I've never had.
Very, very different. Peach is a stone fruit.
Yes.
Yes. Go on.
My number 2 is somebody who we only saw, I believe, for one episode, maybe 2 episodes of this show, but it made such an impact. And this is one that Stephanie reminded me of, helped me out with in talking to her. Stephanie Mayer Sr. That show I love that show, but my number 2 is Lou Smith, which is Will Smith's dad in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh, yes.
So, not an evil person. Why am I an echo? Do you hear that?
Yes.
Oh, fuck, why am I an echo? Hold on.
Oh.
Hello?
Hey.
Much better.
Yeah, just took it off and put it back in. That's all. That's all I did. That's what she said.
That'll do it.
But yeah, so Lou Smith, Will Smith's dad in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I believe it was one. I know for a fact there was that one episode, but I think there was like the episode before that. I think it was like a 2-episode arc, if I'm not mistaken. But that scene where Will Smith cries, like, why don't he want me? It's so impactful to me that the moment Stephanie was like, "Oh, what about Will Smith's dad?" Immediately I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, yes, like it made such an impact on me as a kid that this guy was absent for his son. And what made it worse, it wasn't like, because there's a lot of deadbeat dads that never show up and they're never around the kid's life. But what made it worse is that he kept offering Will hope. He kept offering and promising that he's going to be better, he's going to change, he's going to do this and he's going to do that. And that stringing him along process made his absence that much more profound. And it was pretty crazy. So I just felt like that's the one where I'm gonna be like, this is a serious, like this is my serious pick in the sense of like there's no comedy behind it. It's like no, this guy is like if I saw this guy in the street, we'd have some words type of shit. Like, hey man. So that's it.
That's a really good pick that I didn't think of because of the fact that he was only there for a few episodes. But actually, my favorite thing about this pick is because I feel like we did best TV dads at one point, and you picked Uncle Phil, I think.
Yeah.
And so that makes this even better is the fact that like this is like a whole like circle thing for you, like Uncle Phil being one of your best dads, and Will Smith's dad, Lou. You said his name was Lou. I didn't even remember his name.
Lou.
Like from the show being one of your worst, really makes this a really complete story. This is very very cyclical storytelling. I'm very happy with how this is played out.
I just it's a thing. So Lou Smith. I think it was a piece of shit, Dad.
He sucks royal dick.
Oh, Adam Sandler.
Oh, that's great. Can you believe that I showed my wife and Missy that song and they were like about it? They're like, turn this shit off.
Oh my God, who's about that? Oh,
exactly.
So funny.
I'm like, what the
God, man.
Waste.
That was an era, right? When you used to actually like buy comedy CDs.
CDs, yeah. That was a thing. That was a thing. Wish it would have been a comic back then. Fuck.
Man-Child, you can get it now on Amazon.
That's correct. That's correct. Fresh Prince. All right. So Fresh Prince. What do you got for honorable mentions, guys?
Okay, so my honorable mentions. I've got Al Bundy.
Me too.
Me too.
I don't think it's ever established that he's got any sort of condition. But I think it's like but yeah, he's just terrible. He's awful. I was between Hiram Lodge and Al Bundy, but Hiram Lodge is evil,
right.
Whereas Al Bundy makes me laugh.
Fair enough.
Give me a second, Dave. Hold on. You're echoing, so I'm gonna try to take you out and then put you right back in. All right.
How am I now?
It sounds better.
Okay.
It's weird. It just works. It just works.
Weird.
Have you tried turning it off and turning it back on?
That's literally what I thought. I was like, I'll just turn it off and turn it back on.
I had to do that today, man. I went in. The summer school started this week, and I went into the classroom, and I'm trying to connect to the smart board. Shit's not working. What happens? Unplug, plug it back in, starts working.
Yeah, it's weird.
Genius.
Dan Scott, which is the father of Lucas and Nathan on One Tree Hill. If ever there was a dirtbag on TV, I think it's that guy. Frank Gallagher from Shameless. I didn't watch the whole show, so I felt like I couldn't put him on. But the few seasons I did watch, he was just.
I did the same thing with Frank Gallagher. I haven't seen enough of it to know if like there's a redemption arc in his future.
Yeah. And one that like missed it by that much. Roger Peralta.
By that much.
Thank you. Roger Peralta, Jake Peralta's dad.
Yes, yes.
He's just a piece of shit dad.
Yes, same thing. He keeps giving him hope, keeps coming back and giving him hope and all this shit and apologizing, and then he just I'm with you, bro. I'm with you. Oh my God, yes. Daniel, what do you got?
I have got George Bluth from Arrested Development.
Yes,
his light treason put his family in quite a situation. He's just not enough of a character all the time for him to make my list. Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty, who is a terrible dad, but the show tends to focus more on him being a terrible granddad. So he does have some redeeming moments, but I think overall it's very easy to admit that Rick Sanchez is a terrible dad and a granddad. And Walter Bishop from Fringe is the other one I've got.
Hurt, man. That hurts my heart.
I know it does. I know it does. But come on, man. You've got to admit that.
But he was under psychedelic drugs, man. Like he was like it's a fucking thing.
And that's,
like he ran experiments on himself. Like it's like that's like I mean you're not wrong.
And that's why he's an honorable mentions because there are some caveats to be him being a bad dad. So that's why he's honorable mention and not on my list.
You're not wrong. He was an awful father for a lifetime, but then in the I think
Yeah, I know. And like I said, that's why it's honorable mention, right? He had plenty of time. He had some redemption.
Especially at the end, the way it ended.
Bro.
fucking great.
Bro,
Show.
fucking Fringe.
Tell Dave. Dave is a science guy. He's a fucking science fiction guy. Like that show is all up Dave's alley. Plus, it has Spock in it. Like it's like fucking like this is all like.
I think you'd really like Fringe, Dave. He's right.
Yeah, I haven't had the time to,
it's on Hulu. Okay, my honorable mentions. Stephanie has a good one here.
You have it on Blu-ray as well.
I do have it on Blu-ray. Unopened, sealed, still, my friend, still sealed.
Okay, so hold on. So Stephanie, what
you said? John Lawfield's dad from Parks and Rec.
So was he really that bad? Right? Because it was the Fonz. It was like he was a bad human being, but he was good to his kids.
No, he spoiled his kids. He showed them he taught them no responsibility, and the fact that they were like at one point his daughter was like, "Money, please," strangers, and the dad says you better do it because if not, like it's just gonna get bad. Like he was off the fucking rails.
Okay, so he's a bad dad in a different way than a lot of people were talking about. So I can see he's bad at fathering.
Yeah, he's irresponsible.
I'm with Stephanie on this one. He sucks. I'm also with Andy on Ted Mosby. Fuck that guy.
Oh my god!
You sat your kids down for 10.
Where's that comment?
It's Andrew said Ted Mosby sucks.
Oh, Ted Mosby sucks, but I thought he was a great dad.
Listen, man, he sat his kids down for 10 fucking years to tell the story about how he met someone that he doesn't fucking care about.
First of all, it was 9. Second of all, he's clearly should be under some ADHD medicine that he's not on. Because his story's diverted.
Look, I want to be mad, but I tell stories like Ted Mosby. So.
Yeah, I know. My kids are sitting down on the couch right now, waiting for me to finish a fucking story that I started 2 years ago. We're gonna figure this shit out, man. Let's see here. Stephanie said, let me see here. Andrew Chico, yeah, but he just sucks as a person. He's
just a bad storyteller as a dad. True enough, we don't know how he treated his kids.
I thought he treated his kids well, I guess.
They seem to be clean.
My honorable mention list. I had Al Bundy, and then I had Mickey, Lily's dad from How I Met Your Mother. That guy was a fucking awful father.
Yeah. Chris Elliott, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That guy
got diseases.
He plays dirtbag so well.
We're watching Schitt's Creek right now.
Oh, it's so good.
He plays the same character in every role.
This is the exact conversation my wife and I had. Was Chris Elliott's good in the role, but he just always plays like the creepy guy.
Yeah. Did you ever watch Cabin Boy? Did you ever see that show?
Of course.
Yeah.
It's so. First of all, when I watched that show, when it came out, I was as a kid. So I wasn't prepared for the out. You know what I mean? Like that's like different kind of comedy. That's like, you know what I mean? And I was like, what the fuck am I watching? And I just hated this guy because I felt he was so annoying. It was the same thing when I watched Bob. I'm like, no, I'm with Richard Dreyfuss on this. This guy's fucking annoying. Fuck Bob. And that's the whole point of the comedy is like this, you know what I mean? But I felt the same thing about Chris Elliott. Everything I see him in, I'm like, this is Cabin Boy again. He's a fucking Cabin Boy.
Grab my strong hand.
Grab my strong hand is Cabin Boy. This is all fucking Cabin Boy. Anyways, so there's that. I don't think Ted Mosby's a bad dad at all, but I get it. The 9 years to tell a story. Jesus Christ, guy. Let's get shit together. Let's take a writing class. Let's figure this shit out, man. All right, so that's my everything else in my honorable mention have been mentioned, including Al Bundy. And I think Homer Simpson is a bad dad. I get it that there are many times where there's like glimmer of like good dads or like where he's a good dad.
Well, he's had like 49 years to go up and down. Right?
That's what I'm saying. I was about to say he's at 30 years. And it's like, yeah, there's multiple times. Like, yeah, but he's 30 years. Like, I think overall, I think, but he's exactly what you talked about. He's just negligent. He's just like the dumb or whatever. However you phrased it. All right. Here we go. Let's see if that works again. All right. So now on to our number ones.
Round 1. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back.
And number 1. Do it. Come on.
All right. What do we got going on, guys?
All right. So my number 1 is an animated pick, and it is also a a McFarlane one, and it's Stan Smith.
Oh, come on. Stan's not that bad, but I'll listen.
Stan Smith.
Wait. Can we just talk about how you gave Splinter more of a chance than you gave Stan Smith off the bat?
Stan Smith, like I like Ninja Turtles is my childhood, right? But like nowadays, like American Dad is something that I just get. So, but anyway, carry.
Listen. I have and I'm always in the minority here. And Neri, you can attest to me always saying this. I've always preferred American Dad to Family
I'm with you on that.
Me too.
Like we're all
American Dad's a superior show.
I think that it's tighter, it's wittier. Like a Family Guy is great in its ability to like feed off of so many different parts of pop culture. But American Dad is like what it does is very targeted and specific, but it does it so damn well. And Stan Smith is just an awful piece of shit. And there is nothing that he won't do to further himself or America, right? Whatever that may be, right? America, right? And I always go back to the episode very early on where he basically pimps out Haley to Deputy Director Bullock for a promotion, and it's not even like to Deputy Director.
Oh, you're right.
It's like the assistant to the Deputy Director. It's like middle management. Right, so like he is willing to pimp out his daughter. But
didn't she already have a thing with him? Like Bullock, didn't she already? Or
yes, no, she did, and Francine told him to like end it. It's gotta be ended. He was going to murder Bullock, and then when Bullock was like, "I think it's time to talk about your promotion," he was like, And that's
hold on. So my question is to you. So are you saying that he's a bad dad because instead of killing another human being, he let the relationship that already existed continue?
He let it continue because it benefited him.
Instead of killing the person.
Yes, of course.
Of course.
Fair enough. No, you're God, I don't want to agree. I don't want to agree with this.
And the thing is, there's no mental handicap there like there is with.
Well, he's a Republican, so I mean,
true. There's no diagnosed handicap.
But here's what I will say: to play devil's advocate, because I do agree that he's not a great dad either. Just the way you defended Homer and saying there's plenty of times where like all touching moments or whatever, he literally pointed a gun at fucking God to get his family back.
That's true.
So there are times where you're right. There are times where he's awful and he's really bad to fucking
Haley's, man, that was so good too.
Haley's husband. He's like extremely bad.
Christmas Story episode.
But that's not his real kid. So who gives a fuck about that? But yeah, you're right. I'm not defending. I'm just saying that there are some moments. Every Christmas episode when they did the whole the reckoning, whatever it's called, or whatever. Souls go up and whatever.
Yes.
That episode was fantastic. All these episodes show how much he loves his family. But you're right. He is pretty fucking shitty as a
like I want to disagree with this pick so much because like I said, I love American Dad just so much. But like you think about it, and like one time he cloned his son to make a better version of his son because he hated his son so much that one turned into
no. He cloned his son so that he could prove to Francine she raises one.
That's right. And then when he raised a kid on his own, he turned into a serial killer.
And Francine Steve turned into some fat blob.
Yes.
All he did was command her.
So there we go. When given a kid to raise on his own, he raised a psychopath. This is another one. God damn, I want to be mad at this pick, but you're right.
His treatment of Roger, which is essentially another child, like he's Alf, right? You know, but Alf was the third child in the Tanner family, you know? So the way he treats Roger, Klaus, the fact that Klaus exists.
That's hilarious.
You know,
Klaus is the Meg of American Dad.
Klaus, in my opinion, is the most underappreciated character on that show. Every line that comes out of his mouth is fucking gold.
Just go. Hold on. Give me a second.
Solid fucking gold.
Oh.
I'm with you, dude. I'm with you.
God, this is another one. You're so right, and I want to be mad at this pick because I love American Dad.
Yeah, but here's the thing. But
you're so right.
But you don't have to be mad at this pick, Daniel, because this whole show is everybody's bad and everybody's fucking screwed up in the show. Like, it's an animated show. It's not the same as saying Splinter, where Splinter is technically a good dad and supposed to be a good dad, and I'm just finding ways to fucking make to exaggerate the shit that he did. In American Dad, he's legit. He's meant to, like, all these animated shows. Yeah. All these dads are meant to be bad dads. They're all meant to be bad. You know what I mean? They're like.
Well, I thought about putting him at number 4 because it was animated and because it's so exaggerated from what real life is. But it's precisely because it's animated that they can exaggerate the things that you find in real life, and there are dads like that. Yep. They obviously don't have the accessibility to the technology to do what Stan does to his family, but when you drive your son into a meth lab and think that's okay, then whatever. That's how you end up at number 1 on the list.
Yeah, I agree. He's out of the 3 animated shows.
Missy. I'm so sorry, Missy.
I don't even want to read that comment out loud to the audio listeners. That one got me so much. Missy says, "Dad, what's a dad? Is that something kids get in Europe?" This is you're now listening to the audio version of 3 people walking backwards into the bush. So out of the 3 dads that from the Fox animated shows that we talked about, The Simpsons, Family Guy, and American Dad, it would be tough to say who's the worst dad. I'm with you. Peter Griffin is a pretty fucking shitty dad. I mean, say what you will about Stan. I don't think there's ever been an episode where he physically hit Haley with a baseball bat.
No.
Oh my God, no. Meg, you scared me.
It's so fucking funny. All these shows are amazing. I love all these shows. All right. So Daniel, what do you got for your number 1?
My number 1 is a show that I've brought up on this podcast before, and I think I may be the only person who has watched it at least as religiously as I watch it. My number 1 is Frank Reynolds, who is played by Danny DeVito on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Tabled.
What? We're on number 1. What? I'm so confused.
I was like, are you tabling for Jeff? Is that what you're doing?
Frank Reynolds is a guy who is also just a shitty human being. So because this is another one. Everybody on the show is just a shitty human being. If you've not watched It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, it's Seinfeld turned up to 12.
Yeah.
Everybody in this show is terrible. They're awful. They always get away with everything, so they just keep being awful. But Frank Reynolds is a guy who is legally Dennis and Dee's dad, but biologically probably not so much. However, in terms of being a bad dad, this is a guy who has actively prostituted his son. He has turned his son into a gigolo because even though he had the money. So in case you've not seen It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, there was an episode where the gang owed a bunch of money to the mafia because they found a bunch of their coke and sold it for way less than it was worth. And even though he's rich and he had the money to give them to pay back the mafia, he wanted to teach his kids a lesson and make them earn their own money. So he taught Dennis to be a gigolo, where he actively pimped him. He was a pimp, including he bought a chalice to be his son's pimp. He has attempted to pimp his daughter in order to be in the good graces of city officials. He is constantly running schemes he one time literally set his daughter on fire trying to make a viral news video. The episode that happens is literally called Sweet D Gets Set on Fire. And he is the one who sets the fires that burns his own daughter because he's trying to go viral with the news video. This is a guy who continuously purposefully puts his children in harm's way solely for his own benefit or to teach them a lesson. He is always scheming. He's very smart. See, like my wife and I had this conversation. Katie and I talked about this, and we were like, who's worse, Peter Griffin or Frank Reynolds? And she pointed out to me very succinctly, Peter Griffin's dumb. And he does some stupid things, but it's because he's a stupid guy. Frank Reynolds is not a stupid guy. Frank Reynolds is smart.
Yeah.
And Frank Reynolds actively chooses to use his children and to do terrible things
I don't know, dude.
to his children.
Garbage Man? Wasn't he Garbage Man where he was like
oh my God, the trash man when they were wrestling. So good. Oh my God, so good. And he cuts Cricket's neck open with the trash can. Anyway, whatever. I love It's Always Sunny. And Frank they're all such good characters because they're so terrible. And the fact that the core of It's Always Sunny is 5 people, and one of those people is the father of 2 of those people, makes it just shine. It's like, man, Dennis and Dee are awful, and yet their dad is somehow worse. That's how Frank ends up making it to number 1. It's like, man, these 2 twins are just terrible people, and their dad somehow manages to outshine them so often. Played perfectly by Danny DeVito. Like, when I've watched Always Sunny so many times, and when I go back, I start at season 2 because that's where Frank Reynolds shows up. And Danny DeVito and Frank Reynolds, the character he plays, they elevate that show to a level that's unheard of. This is a father figure, but not necessarily being a dad. He becomes another character in the show's AA sponsor. And by sponsoring, all he does is support his decisions, right? So this is a fatherly role as a sponsor. So the guy's like, I think I should get high today. And he's like, hey, man, sometimes you got to get high, right? He's like, it's literally what he says. He's just like, hey, sometimes you got to get high. And it's like, wow, even when it's not your kid, but you're put into a paternal role as a sponsor, you're still terrible at it. So it's just in every element of Frank's life, he's awful. And just such a big element of his life is he spends all his time hanging out with 2 of his kids. So you just constantly see how bad of a dad he is. So my number 1 is Frank Reynolds from It's Always Sunny.
There was one episode where the twins found a baby. I don't know if they found the baby or they somehow.
No, they found it. They found it in a dumpster.
So they found the baby.
The gang finds a dumpster baby is the name of that episode.
Found a baby, and then they thought, man, we should make him a model. So they wanted to put him a model, but because the kid was white, they're like, well, white babies don't really smell that much or whatever. So they took the fucking baby to a tanning salon. And they asked, can we put the baby in the tanning booth? And everybody in the tanning booth is like, no, you can't do that to a baby. They're too young. You can't do that to a baby. And one of my favorite lines of any show that I think back and I think about this line constantly throughout my life is he goes, the lady, who's the lady, the girl's name? D, yeah. D goes, come on, just to get a base. And then her brother goes, just to get a base,
bro. And it's actually Mac. It's not her brother. He goes, just to get a base, bro.
She goes, just to get a base. And he goes, just to get a base. And the way he said it, just to get a base.
Also, it is never confirmed, but it's very heavily implied that Frank is biologically Charlie's dad. So legally Dennis and Dee's dad, but also probably biologically Charlie's dad. So he is a father figure for 3 of the 5 people, or 3 of the 4 people in this crew that aren't him.
Of the worst people, by the way.
And he's terrible to Charlie too. He takes advantage of the fact that Charlie probably has an IQ of like 55, and he takes advantage of Charlie too, while playing it off as being Charlie's best friend. So that's the thing with Frank is you've got 2 people in the show that he's legally the father of, even though it's never proven, but always assumed that he's not their biological dad. Then you've got Charlie, who is his best friend, but probably he is Charlie's biological dad, and he treats all of them super shitty,
Yeah, it's really
And
bad.
they actually, there's an episode where they go on Family Fight, which is Family Feud, and they actually say that he adopted Mac so that they could be on Family Fight together. So legally, he might even be Mac's dad based on the canon of this show, and he's super shitty to Mac, too. So he's got a plethora of children on this show, and he's terrible to all of them.
He's bad. My number one is Stannis Baratheon. That's my number one pick. I felt anybody when you kill your own daughter, you know, I think you rise to the number one slot of being a bad dad. You know, and emotional and mental abuse is awful.
I walked away from the show for 2 solid weeks. Like I was in like a spin where I was watching the show 4 or 5 episodes a day. Walked away for 2 weeks after Stannis burned his daughter at the stake.
I feel bad now because I didn't.
I was watching week to week, so I had like 7 days to get over it.
No, I was like binging before the final season because I had watched some and then taken a break, so I was binging, and I was like, me and you were done right now, Game of Thrones.
I binged the first 5 seasons, and I took I was watching 4, 5, 6 episodes a day. Like just boom, I was on a cruise ship just watching those episodes, and then the Red Wedding made me. I was like, I gotta go take a break. I'm out. I gotta take a break. But then when I saw him kill his daughter, I was like, man, that's fucked up. All right, next episode, let's go. I don't know what that says about me, but it says something.
By the end of this, we're just putting our faces on this, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I was like, oh, whatever. Yeah, no. So he killed his daughter. It was awful. I remember that year, Father's Day, when Father's Day came, all the stereotypical memes of Darth Vader came like, oh, happy Father's Day and happy Father's Day. And I just put Stannis Baratheon as a meme and I put happy Father's Day. And I think now it's common practice, but that year it was like I remember one of my friends was like, "Thank you, I'm fucking tired of seeing Darth Vader. Holy fuck!" I mean, again, just a, you know, he was manipulated. Say whatever you want, that's fine, but you killed your daughter, so like you knowingly, consciously killed your daughter. It wasn't like, oh, I dropped her off a ledge by mistake, or it wasn't even like I was driving drunk, which is still your fault, but you know, it's not that. It's no, I fucking told people to put out a stake and I lit the fire. Like that's a fucking other issue, man.
So this goes back to your look. I'm not disagreeing that Stannis is a bad dad. Don't take this as that. Just the fact that you put him as number one. This goes back to your like Captain America argument, right? Like, does the one I sound like I'm downplaying murdering a child. Does the one thing that you did that's awful earn you a number one spot? I'm not disagreeing that Stannis Baratheon has a place in this discussion. I'm just arguing that maybe your number one's too high.
So when that one thing, that one bad thing you did is a final thing that you can't redeem yourself. You can't come back from death.
Stephanie says, yeah, when it's a murder, it's yes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's like when it's that one thing, that's the same thing we have in a Captain America argument where I was like, yeah, he killed the parents. They can't come back. And there's no coming. So when it's something final, it's not the same thing as Stannis Baratheon being like, well, the only bad thing he did is he didn't go to her graduation. It's like, yeah,
you're talking about Mike Brady now?
Yeah, exactly. There's a part of me that wanted to put Mike Brady, but I was like, no, I can't do that. That's an American.
He's a bad husband because he didn't even sleep in the same. Oh no, he did sleep in the same bed as his wife. I'm sorry, they were like the first ones who slept together.
No, Lucy slept with Ricky, but later on in the later seasons, not in the very first couple episodes of I Love Lucy, they had separate beds, even though the audience knew that they were married in real life. But like after season 2, they were like, "Hey, everybody knows we're married, right? That's not fucking. We're not."
But yeah, no, like the reason, and I know that you very cleverly had us glaze over this when we were talking about Tywin. The reason I went with Tywin over Stannis is, yes, you're right. Murder is like the worst.
Oh, and I'm not just saying. And I would definitely not. I'm not having I would not have the conversation of who's a worse father because both of
Right.
them are evil men.
And I didn't want to have 50% of my list be Game of Thrones because I very easily could have. The only reason I picked Tywin is because he actively used his children.
This whole
all
episode
three of them.
could have been all Game of Thrones dads.
You're absolutely correct.
Really three fathers. There was one good dad, and his name was Ned. There was it, and everybody else who's a father on this show was a piece.
And they killed him before season 1 was over.
Yeah, that was brutal. I remember 5 years after the fact, I'm here on Facebook like, hey, what the fuck, Ned Stark? Really?
Yeah, it's like, man, there were like 3 good people in this show, and you just managed to murder them all.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, this whole episode. But yeah, Stannis Baratheon is fucking. They're all bad, dude.
yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Stannis is awful, man. Like it's and you're right because it's this whole next level thing where maybe you were consumed in a cult or whatever, but man, killing your own kid, gosh, that's next level shit.
Ultimately, that's the thing that stopped me from putting him on the list is like people who get involved in cults. Like there have been studies that have been done on him.
Sorry.
Me.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to do it fast enough that you guys wouldn't like just keep. Yeah,
sorry. There's something fundamentally missing in their lives, and they're trying to fill it. So there's usually something with depression going on there, right? So there is something psychologically wrong with Stannis. There's something wrong with him,
right? The fact that he would place any sort of religion or power over his family, but the fact that he.
Here's the argument you could have made towards this pick. You could have said, "Wait a minute, you don't pick Homer Simpson and Peter Griffin because they're mentally handicapped." But you pick Stannis Baratheon because that's clearly a mental handicap because he's being mentally manipulated. One could argue,
but a lot of people with very high IQs get swept up into cults, right? Like you don't have to be mentally handicapped to be swept into a cult.
No, that's not what I meant. I meant that there's still a form of mental manipulation.
Okay,
therefore you're not acting in your right mind, so to speak. So you shouldn't be held accountable. As we talked about with my Captain America pick a few episodes ago, I don't give a fuck. You're like at the end of the day, that you don't want me in your jury because there's no in my mind. I'm like, well, you still did it though, right?
You're Rorschach, right? There's black and there's white. There's no gray area.
I mean that is a gray area. That wasn't him. He was being mind controlled.
Sure. But people still died at your hands. So I mean,
no, not at his hands. At the hands of Hydra.
Okay, that episode is past.
At the order of Hydra.
That wasn't an order. If it was an order, he would have had the ability to say, "I'm not going to follow this order. I quit," and he could not do that.
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, all
right.
Well,
not. I guess. I mean, that's what it is.
I don't agree, but this is me saying. I guess
you can be wrong. That's okay.
Okay, so.
Mind control is not a matter of opinion.
Back to Stannis. The difference is Stannis wasn't actively mind controlled. Stannis was swept up in something.
Right.
Like the premise was always that Winter Soldier was actively mind controlled. He was a drone. Stannis was just swept up in something, and so to your point, Neri, Stannis let his thirst for power and his belief in the Red Witch bring him to this point. Like
I still firmly believe had the Red Witch taken off her bracelet before that, he would, and he's seen her,
and he had seen the titties because they were good titties.
There were some good titties.
They were good titties, bro.
The moment she turned into that old lady, I promise you, Stannis would not have done that shit for some old lady.
This is what the Lord of Light is promising me.
Exactly.
Droopy ass titties? Hell no, I ain't kidding my dollar for droopy ass titties.
Right.
In my face.
But the Red Witch he was seeing. Maybe we're thinking. Maybe we're making some choices.
I'm with you guys and all of that. I just, I have a very young daughter, and so
Fair enough.
Very much personal to like.
Look, I can't argue against Stannis. I can only tell you why I picked Tywin instead of Stannis.
And I don't argue, and I don't even argue that. I would never even argue who's a worse father, because both of those men are fucking evil bastards. I would never even have that. I would love to be in that conversation, and I would be that guy that just agrees to everything. Yeah, no, he's good point. I would literally watch it like a fucking tennis match. Solid. Okay. He was awful. That he did do that. All right. So the list is
Tywin's the only one with multiple votes, I think.
Tyrion Lannister, Stan Smith, Frank Reynolds, and Stannis Baratheon. Yeah, he is right. Tyrion is the only one.
So if we take everybody's number ones plus Tywin, we've got 4.
There you go. Kind of worked out that we didn't have a 4th today.
It did.
Yeah. I don't even
Jeff. If you're listening or you're watching, I know you couldn't be on tonight, but I just want you to know I did not pick Sam and Dean's dad, and I thought about it.
He made some list. That guy made some lists, and there's people that I didn't put on this list. There's people that I didn't put on this list because I never watched the show. So I never watched that show with the Bluth family. I don't even
Arrested Development.
I've never seen Arrested Development.
Oh, dude, so funny.
George made a lot of lists, but the one who made only like 1 or 2 lists, and I would have put him above, is Job.
Yeah, Job was way worse, and it's just being a father was less of Job's story arc. That's why I went with George instead of Job. But I just want you to know, Jeff, I did leave Daddy Winchester off this list, and I thought about it.
The other one that I thought about, but I haven't seen the last season of the show, and is one of my favorite shows, just that life got in the way, is Arlo from Justified. I love that fucking show. I think there were 5 seasons, and I've seen 4, and I truly believe it's one of the best shows on TV that nobody.
I saw that one pop up, but I've never watched Justified. So
and Arlo is an awful father, but since I never finished the show, I don't know if there was any kind of redeeming arc in the last season.
Yeah, you couldn't quite justify the pick.
Correct. I see what you did there.
All right, so the final mountain is
Stan Smith, Frank Reynolds, Tyrion Lannister, and Stannis Baratheon.
That is a list of solid dads.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, you filthy animal.
Oh, man.
We take it and then we turn it on its head. We do bad dads.
And next year we'll do bad dads
movies.
And Dave already has
I got my list done. It's good.
Dave's just gonna get drunk on that day.
Yeah, he's just like, do whatever you guys want. I already got it. Well, honest to God, thanks, Dave, for changing your list. Like, we just thought, I just assumed, and I just assumed, but I appreciate.
Hey, I thought I was gonna be so unhappy with my list, and
we can see it in your face. You look like you were super pissed, and I was like, I don't know, man, it's just a list.
Yeah, I was, but it's on me because today was very hectic, and there were parts of the day where I just didn't look at the chat, and not that it was that active. I just go in and respond to something and then move on.
But it's funny that you say that, because like this week, Vanessa took the kids to the beach with their parents, right? And because I have a potential job coming up, I can't be around a lot of people because I'm like, I can't catch the COVID right now because I have a job looming, and so I'm like totally by myself, and I'm like looking at the chat like, no, nothing. Okay, I'll wait. and I'm posting shit like,
I've got summer school and then I nap.
What about this article? And like, no, nobody cares. Okay, cool.
I was dead today because summer school, nap. That was my whole day, and then I ran. So
yeah. So I just thought it was funny that David's like, oh yeah, I was so busy, and I'm like, fuck, man, it must be nice. I watched season 5 of The Flash. I'm on season 6 now. Like, I'm
hell yeah.
This shit. Like, I'm so bored out of my mind.
Speaking of dads, I'm about to wrap this show up and go watch Sopranos with my wife. We're about to finish season 1.
Another. That's the one we were talking about. No, we were talking about Breaking Bad, right? We were talking.
Yeah,
about
well, I was talking about Breaking Bad when he said he bought his son a car. Tony's one who's up and down. I was really hoping it wouldn't have to come up because my wife can hear, and I didn't want to talk too much about Tony because she hasn't seen Sopranos.
My wife and I we're up to season 4, maybe season 5, I forget, of The Sopranos. So we're late, and like we have never watched a show before. And she's like, "What about Tony?" And I was like, I asked her, I go, "Do you think Tony's a bad dad?" She's like,
he's up and down. He's up and down.
He's not a good guy, but he's. I'm like, but what?
Just like in case anybody's wondering, the one that we've been alluding to when we talk about buying a car, we've been talking about Walter White. Walter White's like a terrible human being, but probably he was really good to Walter Jr. most of the show. He bought him a car. What he was doing was technically for the betterment of his family, even though in the season finale, spoiler alert, he admitted he did it for himself.
Yeah.
But so that's who we've alluded to multiple times throughout this episode now that he never came up, was Walter White was one that I fought with a long time.
I don't think he was a bad dad.
I don't think he was a bad dad. I think he was a shitty husband and a shitty person. I think he was a terrible husband and a shitty person.
I think
he was a pretty good dad.
You know what? Skylar is a way worse wife.
Yes.
She is probably
bullshit. Bullshit.
No.
I challenge you to watch Breaking Bad again if you've only seen it the one time, because Skylar is not a terrible wife. Skylar is not a terrible character.
She is very possibly my least favorite television character of all time.
Yeah.
My third watch through of Breaking Bad, I came to appreciate Skylar. And I know this is a whole nother episode and we're just rambling now, but
listen, man, I haven't watched Fringe the one time. I'm not going to rewatch.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna rewatch Breaking Bad.
I will rewatch Breaking Bad if all things go well and I get the gig that I'm supposed to get. I'm gonna be out for a long time, for months at a time, and I will be fucking rewatching Fringe and rewatching Breaking Bad. Skylar is a piece of shit as a wife.
Skylar gets a bad rap. I will take it to my grave.
And I would say that when you guys are talking about him being a bad husband, I was like, wait a minute. He may have been a shitty husband. That's only because he had the fucking worst wife on the planet.
Let's go, Stephanie. Me and you, Skylar, ride or die.
They don't really what's Skylar? All right, whatever. So that's it. That's our mountain. Thank you guys for checking us out. Make sure you guys check us out at our ads at punk_Phoenix. If you want to get in contact with Daniel on his Instagram, we are and Twitter. That's right. We are on all the social medias at Mt.Geekmore. So make sure you guys check that out. Go on geekbro.net. Check out the other podcasts on the geekbro.net network, including Pero Let Me Tell You, Chow Like a Best with Mike Valdez, Dose of Ellie, and What's Up Bro podcast. If you're watching this live now, which is only one person, so it should be Stephanie, Woo Bro tomorrow. So make sure you guys check out Woo Bro tomorrow. Thank you guys for checking us out. That's how lists are made.